You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. Could nervous system regulation be the path to an abundant life? Find out more in today's episode. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer. What if everything we've been told about holistic health, healing, and well-being is only part of the story? Because thriving in today's world looks different than it used to. Here, we challenge the narratives, rethink what it means to become human, and explore how that shapes the way we lead, live, and step into our full potential. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. We can do breathwork, meditate, work on ourselves, and still feel caught in the weeds, searching for answers while our bodies stay in survival mode. Regulation becomes a way of living when it starts changing the state we create from each day. Meet Mary Hope, a nervous system regulation coach and founder of The Spirit-Led Way. Mary helps high-capacity entrepreneurs regulate their nervous system so they can expand their capacity, attract the right clients, and lead from connection and alignment. She bridges somatic intelligence, breathwork, and leadership performance, helping entrepreneurs move out of the internal fight or flight and into heart coherence and grounded execution. Mary's approach is unique and simple. Nervous system regulation isn't a practice, it's a new way of living. Here is my interview with Mary Hope. Hi, Mary. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because, of course, nervous system regulation is also one of my favorite topics. And I know that you have so much wisdom to share and things that are really important for people to hear right now. So thanks for joining me today and welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Petra. I'm so grateful to be here with you. It's such an honor to really share all the codes of nervous system regulation and really go deeper beyond the words of nervous system regulation and really allow people to realize that this is not just about the practices and the routines. This is truly allowing us to live an abundant life, to no longer live from survival and actually give ourselves that openness and that opportunity to receive the abundance that is all around us and all within us, to know that we are literally living, breathing, walking miracles, that we don't have to be held back by the things that have kept us stuck or sick.
Yeah, that's so beautifully said. And I feel that we are starting this episode on such an empowering note with what you just shared just in those words. So thank you for that. And Mary, share with us a little bit about your own story and maybe the parts of your journey or your story that you feel connect to what you do today. You know, what brought you here and why are you doing what you're doing? And also let our listeners know what it is that you do today.
Thank you so much, Petra. Yes. So for me, really, it all started back with I was working many different careers. And of course, I knew I always had a bigger purpose, but I was working with 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs. We were all feeling so capped. We were all feeling overextended. There was just something just not clicking. And I was seeing it on the outside of all of them, but also feeling it on the inside from me. And through all of this dysregulation, as I was even judging them, it was reflecting back even on myself. And so those years of grinding and working so hard, and I would always find myself, okay, but I feel like I'm doing the right things. I would start to tap in. There was a couple of years where I was starting to learn different practices and different things, but it still just was not fully into alignment. And I was still reaching for things outside of myself. I had many different addictions that really held me back. And I found myself in a near-death experience. And, I was on 7 different substances at the time. And I'll never forget, even from that time and even on, of looking up. And I remember looking up during that time when I was in the back of a truck at the time. I knew there was something different that was supposed to happen for me, that was supposed to come through me. I knew not quite knowing exactly what it was at that time, but that there's something that's meant to be created through me. And through those years, so even right after that, I actually quit my next job that I had. I was working life insurance. I worked the nightlife for 7 years. Meanwhile, while still building up my business. And at the time, Petra, I was working at my fitness business. I loved fitness. I loved learning about the body. But what I didn't realize that this is more than just us working out and building the body. This is all nervous system regulation. And so there, I actually remember looking in the mirror and I just said, stop feeling sorry for yourself and start educating yourself. And that's when I really started to make a twist on, okay, how can I actually even get even more connected and make this more fun? And what I didn't realize the missing piece here was, Petra, is our heart coherence. And really God started to come through even stronger the more that I realized that it's not about everything that we want to get done up here. It's all about coming really, really back into our bodies and connecting with our heart space. So from there, I started to develop my new methodologies that I've created called the Spirit-Led Way. Of course, this is just the bridge, the vehicle, but our destination is really all about living the abundant life. This is for all high capacity men and women, to be able to really know that, you really don't have to carry this all alone. Yes, you can carry all of the clients and all the successes that you have, but you are meant to live a life from abundance. And through this lens that we have, nothing else matters, because your co-creation with God and your pure presence that you give to the world, it all magnetizes. So you showing up behind closed doors, as well as with your clients and all of the above, it literally is a ripple effect of energy in every single thing that you do.
That makes so much sense. And of course, when we're at first not aware of all of this, I think that is probably the most common time that we get stuck in the things that we feel are misaligned or hurting us, or where we experience physical symptoms and all sorts of things going on. Once we come into that awareness of what you just shared with us, I feel there's a point where you can't really unsee this, right? And you can't really put the lid back on that once you become aware of how all of this is so interconnected. And where do you find, you've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, you also work with women specifically, right? Where do you see when clients first come to you, where do they usually get stuck in this process? What is the thing they're stumbling on? What is challenging them on this whole, I want to say we have a lot of interconnection, but before that awareness hits, where do we get stuck on all of that?
Love that you asked this. And this is where I would love to draw a diagram, but we're going to give it all in context of words. Really, Petra, everyone is caught up in the weeds, and it will happen to all of us, every single one of us, including myself. None of us are perfect. And what happens is when we get caught up in the weeds, we're not really actually seeing where we're planting the seeds. And the weeds, imagining as if you're trying to look through all of these weeds, like you're at the bottom of a field, and say like there's a bunch of sunflowers above the field, and you can't see them because you're underneath. So there's all of these weeds, and you're saying, well, why do I feel stuck? And I'm searching for clarity and all this. But the real question is, where do you want to create that freedom? Where do you want to find your peace? How can you actually just let go of what you no longer need, so you can then see, now all of a sudden you're above and you can see this entire field of abundance of sunflowers, and you're saying, oh my gosh, these have been here the whole time, but I've been caught up in the weeds. And I say that as an analogy, Petra, because for me, that really gives the client a better understanding on really all of the distractions that they experience. Because most people there's so many distractions, they're caught up in their head. So my goal, even the very first session, is to immediately drop them into their heart, because when you're out of your head and you're into your heart, you will see that field of the sunflowers.
Wow, I love that analogy. I've actually never thought of it that way. And yet, if you're crawling along the bottom, no wonder you can't see all of the sunflowers. So that makes so much sense. Now, where do you start connecting, I want to say, the spirit-led way? Because that is your way of coaching. That is your vision behind a lot of the things that you are sharing. So how are we connecting this work where you're finding people struggling, you're finding people stuck? How are you connecting this to the spirit-led way? And what does that mean? I want to say, especially for you sharing this today, and also for how you bring this to your clients.
Yes, thank you so much. The spirit led way has really come through very strong in a way of just really implementing that this is the new way of living. So, whatever we do on the sessions, it's really all about installing this into your life, the new way of living, the new way of operating. So, the spirit led way is really designed to show you that, yes, even though you show up for a session and you commit to whatever we do inside the session, which it includes breathwork, meditation, as well as personalized coaching. And we really go deeper within the codes of the weeds that you've been carrying. And you're realizing more and more that the spirit led way is the vehicle to the destination that you want to go to. So the methodology is that way. You're always and forever going to be living the practice. You are literally the walking embodiment of the abundant life. And it's kind of gives that example of allowing your subconscious mind and your nervous system to slowly expand its capacity to receive. Maybe you're listening to this right now and you're really wanting those next clients, or you're wanting to get to the next thing, and you're really excited about XYZ, but you still are feeling super dysregulated and capped. There is nothing wrong with you, and it doesn't mean that you're not worthy of receiving that. And all it means is just allowing you to slowly open your capacity to receive, because really, Petra, the spirit-led way also teaches that we're not here to just hold and expand our capacity to hold all the stress and the overworked. We expand your capacity to receive the joy. We expand your capacity to receive the love, the abundance, more joy, more joy, more joy. And that's what people need. Everyone's nervous systems, we are meant to dance. And people are, when I say the weeds as well, everyone's focused on the chaos and the pain. And I understand, because there can be so much suffering, but there's also a million times more abundance available to us, and it's miraculous. So the spirit-led way really teaches you that it's quite faster than the way that you want to go, which is overworking, trying to carry it on your own, and doing it all the loops that just keep you stuck.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm kind of starting to understand where you're going with this, because a lot of people, when I think they first embark on even spiritual awakening or their own healing journeys or wherever they're coming from, right? They're sort of in this place of, wow, I've read a ton of self-help books. I took a ton of programs on the internet. I do yoga. I eat a clean diet. I've tried to sleep better. And yet I still feel the same way, right? So there is a bit of a disconnect between where we're coming to with our self-care, our own education, our personal development, following our potential, but actually then coming into more of this alignment that you're describing. There's a gap between those two things, right? I'm getting the sense that this is the gap that you're working in to help people bridge maybe this perception that we have of a lot of the mainstream things that we get told to do to take care of ourselves. But that doesn't really equate actually building capacity for the nervous system. Those to me seem to be two very different things. So share a little bit about how you actually help people then bridge this gap of, well, I've done everything. I've tried everything. I read all these books. I listened to all the audiobooks that told me what to do. And yet I still can't break that income ceiling. I still can't feel any joy. I'm still disconnected from my vision or whatever it is that they're experiencing. How do you bridge that for them when they work with you?
Love that. Love that you shared this, Petra. And I love that you actually used that analogy of the bridge, because really the bridge of faith, and I always see the spirit-led way as a bridge. It's a bridge that's going to be your bridge of faith that's walking and going to manifest your abundance. So it moves faster. It goes through everything a lot faster. And on these sessions, I'm very, very, very dedicated to my channel, and I work directly with God, the creator. For me, it's really all about just me and the client. They're the most important person in the world. So by me also opening my capacity to hold that space for them. Immediately after we begin the session, I can already hear and feel where their focus is going, intuitively as well as from their words. most of the time, it's really all about, Petra, every single session. It's like imagining as if a bowling ball is going back and forth on those bumpers. And we're just getting you just these little tiny tweaks back into alignment, because really sometimes that's all it takes in these sessions is just that tweak of your energy and your alignment. But what's really powerful underneath all of this is that there's so much more work being done on the inside through the session and through the breath work and the meditation and the unpacking, because really, it's really all about clearing that fear, Petra. And fear is really a way that actually manifests into our bodies and nervous systems that's causing all of the illnesses and the sicknesses and the patterns. On these sessions, I'm teaching you how to really access the energy of miracles, because that is instant. And with the spirit led way, and by you just being who you are, because we are all one, we're all the same, you're remembering that, wow, I don't really have to worry about all of this up here. When I really allow myself to receive in this session, you now let the fear go back into its original form, which is unconditional love. You're not doing the heavy lifting, you're allowing. And then when you leave the session, you will feel energetically lighter, and there's more capacity to create from joy. And yet again, my goal, as I talk about this all the time, it's always about co-creation and connection. We want you to be connected. I want you guys to be so connected, because without connection, we are not creating. And we need to always be in the energy of creating. Yes, even when you're doing your admin works, your tools, your systems, your AI, you should be communicating, connecting, and co-creating, because that's where it gets to be fun. And that's where everything moves so much faster.
Yeah. And I can tell a real difference in my body when I'm working from that place that you just described versus being, as you called it before, in the weeds, right? You're kind of thinking, oh, I need to get this accounting done, or I have to deal with these emails. You kind of feel how that sucks the life out of you a little bit when you're in that space. It's a very different feeling in the body, just even the body, because I'm thinking, from the mind and emotions, yes, it's very different, but in the body, even it feels different, right? When you're working on that kind of, I want to say, a more blocked, a more misaligned space, you have tension, you might have that knot in your stomach, maybe you can't breathe properly, actual physical things that happen when we try to create from that state, versus being in that flow and that alignment and that creativity, right? Where you're connecting to your joy, you're remembering why you actually started your business in the first place, or you're connecting to that vision, right? Like coming back to why you love this so much if you've kind of lost the connection to that, and really coming back into the sense of that, and creating from a completely different state even. So that to me really just in that little bit shows how much difference the nervous system state really makes in all parts of our lives, right? When we come into that alignment.
I love that you really reflected on that so beautifully, because Petra, it is true. It's hard sometimes, but there could be listeners right now too listening as well. If you feel like you're in a state of survival, or you even feel like, how did I even get here? Maybe you were somewhere you were the last few years, and all of a sudden, maybe it's income, house, like whatever's stacking up, quote unquote, against you. And maybe you're feeling very alone, or wherever you are, it can feel very challenging because you feel like there's no hope. And when we talk about that faith and truly living as if you're imagining as if all of your furniture just all of a sudden got taken away from you, you have no air conditioning, like what Petra's going through right now, like you're in the mix of just trying to go through this challenge. And it doesn't mean that you have to hurry up and bypass or whatever it might be. You're in it, but you're allowing your nervous system to feel as regulated as possible. So you're already living from that state of abundance. And yet again, we can tie in as many words as we want here, which is gratitude, peace, joy, love, patience, compassion. I mean, we can sprinkle and just give all of this. You like literally, it's going to not only change your inner world, your outer world will change. All of a sudden, someone will knock on the door and say, "Hey, I just bought you this couch. Here you go." And then the next day, someone brings you a fan and you're so grateful and you realize, oh my gosh, I was so caught in the weeds because I was worried that I didn't have anything. So really, yes, the nervous system regulation and all the illnesses and the fears that we have, I would say there's so much that we chronically start to think about in our fatigue, our burnout. We actually can become 10 times more burnt out when we're spiritually not aligned, when we're energetically disconnected. We will feel that burnout 10 times more. We really want you guys to feel so in tune and aligned, even if you feel like you don't have it all together, but you're just so excited and so connected. That's when your energy will change. Yes, even not if you don't have as much sleep. I know Petra is not having as much sleep after she just poured so much energy into her summit, but here she is, her spirit is soaring and she's nurturing her nervous system. And that's really exactly the way to live.
Yeah, that's interesting that you connect to that, because that's what I was thinking, right? Is when we're actually creating from places that really light us up, from places that nourish us and that excite us to a certain degree. It's okay even we get a little bit less sleep. It's okay even if maybe we burn the candle a little bit on both ends for a little while. But if we're in that space, I feel it even affects our immune system. It affects our energy. It affects our health. And we come through this a lot more in one piece than I think we would if we weren't as regulated or aligned, because, that's what happens to a lot of entrepreneurs is, right, then they become ill or they even get challenged with a chronic illness or chronic pain. And these are kind of the signs that your body is misaligned in some kind of way and it's not finding its flow. Then even the things that stress you a little bit have a huge impact on your body because you just don't have that foundation underneath. So that's a really interesting piece, I want to say, especially for entrepreneurs, because there often is a lot of pressure and a lot of things going on, is to have that basis. And yes, if you're spiritually aligned, energetically aligned, I feel the stress is still there, but somehow you cope with it in a bit of a different way when you have that resonance that you're talking about. So I can see that making a huge difference in our lives. And especially when it comes to burnout and things like that we might be experiencing. Yeah, 100%. Now, you work a lot with women, right? So do you find that there are sort of particular patterns or challenges that women come across I want to say in contrast or in comparison to men? Have you found that there are some specific things that we as women kind of get challenged with?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've definitely worked with a few men, especially these past few weeks. I've been really kind of studying the differences between all of us. And with women, the high capacity woman, I would say, is, of course, we love everyone equally, but the high capacity woman, she carries so much. And there's a lot of women that I work with that are mothers. I'm not a mother, but I have 11 nieces and nephews. I grew up helping my sisters raise their children, and I've always had clients that are mothers. So I'm very connected to the motherhood work, and I can just see how much they carry. And so even just beyond having children, there's businesses, there's also, we just naturally have that nurturing in us, like making dinner for our spouses. And we're just always, I feel like there's always things to be doing. However, we don't have to be so exhausted carrying all of it. There has to be some variation of why we were created this way, to be the nurturers, to be the divine feminine woman, to be able to know that we show up strong and powerfully. And we show up with that unconditional love to know that, wow, it's about creating that grounded peace, and that there's like this different energy that the woman can create versus the always working so hard. And I think most women, they think that they're not going to be able to get enough done when they slow down. And that's something I notice the most with working with women. And I love to be able to teach the women that you guys are just, you move with a grace and ease. We are the peace to provide also to our significant others and to the world around us. We need our energy to be able to be at the presence and the capability to be able to give that gift of who we are, and also to even bear children or hold the businesses. And when we can show up not only with that power and that confidence, but also with that grace and ease, it is such a big difference. And I think that there's just so many things that go on with the woman's body as well when it comes to hormones. And I'm very connected with all the work that I've done in the past as well with nourishment. So for me, when I work with women, I actually love to give women all of my nourishment tools and tips for when you're on your cycle. And I've been studying hormones now for years. And I'm just really excited to be able to show that there's all of these foods, these abundant foods, the food frequencies that not only help us with our projects and our businesses. Of course, I could give this whole food list to men as well too, but there's a lot for the women that can really make your cycle and who you are as a woman just so powerful. And I plan my projects and all of the things that I do around my cycle. There's just so much deeper work when it comes to really balancing your emotions and your hormones.
Yeah, I feel that that's sort of an added layer that we work with as women. So,
Yeah, it totally is.
and a special kind of connection to I want to say, to how we tune into our own bodies as we're coming through these cycles, right? Because there are times when our body really is telling us, go cocoon, take care of yourself. Today is not a day to create and do big work, right? Today is a day to take care of yourself. And I feel sometimes that might be hard for men to understand in that full sense. And there are many men that are supportive and loving during all this time, but certainly we have that added layer of the hormones that come into play there for sure. Yeah, that's a great point. Now, you shared a little bit about the spirit-led way before, a bit of the philosophy and the sessions, how kind of globally they would look. Is there a framework that you have associated with the work that you do, or some kind of path that you take clients on when they actually come work with you? And what does that look like? I want to say specifically for women, because this is sort of mainly who you work with. So how does that kind of, I want to say, take women through a bit of all of that that's going on in their lives and all the different nuanced layers?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things right now that I love just continually unpacking with all of my clients. And the methodology is really just the bread and butter in the sessions itself. And we really start you off by really building you up and really just creating that consistency with really opening up all of your chakras, your whole entire, I like to call it this peace portal that you have going up and down your entire nervous system. I mean, having that open. I even had a client yesterday where her entire throat cleared up and she was for a whole week was feeling very blocked. And so it's really powerful to really be able to hear this verbatim, the words of people just energetically feeling all of this clearing within their nervous system. And really, we start you off by just creating that divine consistency for you to be able to experience the work. And then as we grow more, we start to allow you to really just expand your capacity to receive. So yet again, it's really all about building that foundation. And that's where it really starts to stick because of the consistency. And most of the time people think, oh, well, if I just go to a couple breathwork sessions or do this, then I'll be fixed. But really, we're not here to fix you. We're here to help you remember who you are. So by the last month of us working together, we do 3 months consecutive back-to-back sessions. So the third month, really making sure that last month is really expanding that capacity to be able to receive, because really this whole entire process, as we start to nurture you and unpack you and help you just fully receive, it's really all about that receptive mode. Because everyone's coming in, there's been so much output. They haven't given themselves the opportunity to fully and unconditionally receive. So we want you to really unpack not only your heart by the end of working together through this methodology. You will notice a huge difference by the third phase because of your expansion of your capacity to receive, but also to that connection, that repetition of you connecting with your heart. So I'm essentially giving you every layer to connect with heart coherence, as well as regulating your nervous system. And you'll find that, you might come in thinking it's like a meditation for nervous system regulation that you found on YouTube, but really we're unpacking all of the layers every session.
Wow, it sounds really beautiful. And heart coherence, of course, has its whole host of benefits all on its own, right? That complement our, if we come into flow and any of those things that we do. And, I do find that especially women, often struggle with receiving. I think we're really good at giving and giving a lot to others and supporting others and taking care of our families, friends, coworkers, whoever is in our circle. But I do find that women struggle with receiving. Are you finding this in your sessions as well?
100%. And that's why people will feel blocked in even wanting to even receive a session or whatever it might be, because, oh, let me just do this on my own. And that's why a lot of people, even beyond women, men as well too, I'll just figure this out on my own. I can do this on my own. I can try. And that's where we start to get in the try, the force, the push. But yes, it's really when we can get in the energy of that capacity. Yes, you must receive, 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 receive. You start to think about, okay, so that day that you take that nap, you're now thinking even more. If you want to expand your perspective on that, you're not missing out on sales opportunities, because what you're doing is you're now being able to sleep and rest and restore yourself, not only to go back in to make those sales even stronger because you're giving your energy, but also to all the people that you're going to connect with. And everybody deserves that the most. Everybody really wants your presence.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think receiving actually is part of how we, I want to say, grow and expand and come back to that creative energy and that joy. A big part of that is receiving. So yeah, amazing. I love the idea of your framework and what you're offering. I feel this is a missing piece in a lot of the things that we look for sort of externally. We try to fix a lot of things. And as you said, I think especially high capacity women, there's no shortage of solutions that we come up with. We find a lot of different things on the internet. We find mentors, coaches, but then to actually come into some kind of coherence with all of that and find something that works long term, I think that is one of the biggest challenges that we run into. So I love that you're offering this as this held container where women can come and they can expand and learn and grow. And in the end, find more of that capacity and that connection for themselves. It's absolutely beautiful. If our listeners are curious and they want to experience some of this for themselves and really maybe experience this connection again and this joy and this resonance, how can people find you? How can they connect with you, Mary? And what kinds of programs, services, events, what do you have upcoming for people?
I am really excited and so grateful that I got to be here with you, Petra. And for those that are listening, and you will be listening to this at a time that I'm still having this, I'm actually going to be doing my biggest launch yet. I'm really wanting to deepen this connection with this methodology and to really just get this out with as many people to experience this. I'm actually giving away 100 free coaching sessions. This is a one-time offer value that I'm giving because there's no pitch on this call. I really want to have people experience this work. So what you'll receive on the call is it'll be a guided experience. So you'll leave lighter, you'll feel more freedom into your body and your nervous system so you can actually live that abundant life. You'll have more clarity and direct steps on your path forward. I'll also give you a roadmap, which is a PDF and basically like a visual that you'll be able to receive that we did inside the session as well as personalized coaching from me. So you can really nurture your nervous system moving forward in your life, in your work, in your business, and whatever you feel called to.
Wow, what an incredible gift. And thank you for doing this. I know that's a lot of work and so grateful that you're offering this to the world to work with you and experience what we've talked about too here in this episode for themselves. I think it's always one thing when we talk about it, but it's another thing when people can actually experience this in their own bodies, in their own lives. And that's a completely different transformation that takes place rather than just listening to it sort of in theory, trying to imagine what that would be like. So, wow, amazing. And we, of course, will do our part and link to all of that in the show notes for you. And we'll also make sure that we link to Mary's socials, her website, the gift that she just shared today. And by the time this airs, sort of in midsummer there, you will all be ready to connect with Mary and experience this amazing work for yourself. And thank you, Mary, for being here today and for sharing this space with me, for creating this episode, and for all of the amazing, incredible work that you do. And of course, the difference that makes in people's lives. I'm so grateful that you were here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Petra. I really feel so much gratitude for being here. And you're such a gift to the world. And I can see this, just so many people are so connected to you and your work, and all of us being able to be here. And I'm just so grateful to be one of them and a part of your life and your path. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. My heart is so full. And I think we're reflecting this gratitude out into the world, and rippling this out. So anyone who listens to this episode, I hope that they get a huge wave of this gratitude and love that we're sending out. And yeah, I think this time in our lives and in this world right now is really where people need this work the most. And so it's really good timing to talk about this and share this. And thanks for doing that so generously. And thank you everybody for tuning in today, for being part of this episode. I hope you all reach out to Mary and experience this work for yourselves. There's always something for us to work on, right? Especially if we're feeling stuck or we're feeling challenged. There are always things that we can work on. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Mary, for being part of that. And until the next episode, take care of yourselves and be well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.